You know, the interesting thing about the aquarium hobby is there's so many different types of aquariums that you can have, and so many types of animals and organisms that you can keep within them. And a lot of people identify as certain different types of hobbyists. For me, I'm a fish keeper, a DIY fish keeper to be exact. And my focus is on the fish and my fascination with them. But I always find myself asking, why? Why do you look the way you do? Why are you the way you are? Why do you have that coloration and body shape and those characteristics and traits? What happened over the millions of years that made you come to that conclusion? And deep down in my heart, I believe that all of my fish are superheroes. They all have, that sounds ridiculous saying it out loud. I'm going to go with it because that's how I feel. I think all of my fish have superpowers and they're all superheroes. They all have these like individual traits and things that make them incredibly special. Obviously, they wouldn't be an individual species. Let me explain. Let's start with my freshwater stingrays. These guys are the masters of survival. Obviously, they've been around for 150 million years ago. 50 million years after that, which is 100 million years ago, we had all of the species that we have today. For the most part, they've recently discovered about 10, 15 years ago other species of stingray, freshwater. But I want to talk about why I believe they are masters of survival, and that is their superpower. Obviously, over 150 million years, they developed the ability to survive under a substrate, meaning that we could literally, their gills are under their bellies, underneath of them, and if we put them under the substrate, you think they would suffocate, but they developed sphericals on top of their backs, right behind their eyes, that operate like little flaps that allow them to still breathe oxygen and push fresh water through those gills. It reminds me of Kevin Costner in Waterworld, where behind his ears he has those special gills. Anyways, their superpower is they're masters of survival. When I think about like an apex predator, like the most famous predator of all time, it's got to be like a dragon, something mythical like that, doesn't it? Well, the reincarnation of the dragon is the Asian arowana. We also call it the dragonfish. Very similar to a dragon, isn't it? It has very long pectoral fins, almost like wings, armor coated with those very large and very thick and strong scales coating its entire body, built powerfully yet slim, and has the ability to jump completely out of the water and catch its prey, jumping several feet. Unfortunately, the silver arowana in the Amazon is referred to as the water monkey, but I don't like that name, so we're only going to talk about this guy. All Asian arowana and all arowana do have something on their chin, though, almost like a little butterfly or a little bug, like little feelers, but those are technically called barbels, and what they use these for is skimming the surface of the water, waiting for movements or fluctuations or changes. These guys are incredibly and highly sensitive. They have fantastic eyesight as well as a sensory system all throughout their body, making them a master predator. But if I'm going to talk about something that likes to But if I'm going to talk about a fish that will and can jump out of the water to get its prey, we might as well talk about the ones that can shoot them out of the air and drop into the water, and that is the archerfish. Coincidentally, these guys are similar in body shape. They also have a similar mouth. They have that jaw bridge style that's pointed upwards, just like the Asian arowana, which obviously indicates they are a top feeder. But unlike the Asian arowana, these guys have the ability, because over millions of years they've developed this specific conical system in their mouth that allows them to spit water and knock down insects out of branches and leaves and trees into the water where they can eat it. The only downside is if you've ever been underwater and you looked up through it, it doesn't look right. If you've ever been in a pool and you got your hand under the water and you look at it, your hand looks like it might be further away. That is called refraction of light. The archerfish's superpower is they have the ability to not only be incredibly accurate, the reason why they are accurate is they can correct refraction of light, making these guys the masters of archery, or targets. And then, of course, I'll go ahead and I will mention the shell dwellers. We've got them in a few tanks at this point. We have them over. Anyways, the shell dwellers, in my opinions, are masters of their environment. Over millions of years, they could have decided to grow bigger or get bigger, because obviously in the wild, the bigger and biggest and baddest are always the apex for the most part. But these guys decided, no, we're going to stay tiny. In fact, we're going to be one of the smallest cichlids on the planet for a very specific reason. We have developed the ability and the understanding to take a shell, a snail shell, and turn it into our homes. We don't need to grow any bigger because the shell is going to protect us. We will feed our fry in there, we will breed in there, we will rest in there, and we will find refuge in there. Furthermore, we can drag this shell around wherever we want and bury it in the sand or build up mounds to hide ourselves. But don't get it confused, the shell dweller has all the attitude of a regular cichlid, just in a tiny little cute thing. But in my opinion, that is what makes them masters of their environment. And then we want to talk about other fish. I love doing this, guys, and I'm sorry if this is dragging on, and just get to the point. No! This has a point. the pufferfish. We could say they're the masters of eating snail shells and clam shells, and that's what I think they're the masters of not being eaten themselves for two reasons. One, they're poisonous. If you eat a pufferfish, you're gonna die. Sorry, that's just the way it works. The other thing is, if you do decide to eat them and they don't want to be eaten, they can puff up to be double or triple their original size, making it incredibly difficult for a predator to swallow or eat it. And a lot of times predators will only go after a fish that they specifically know that they could fit in their mouth. And when that puffer puffs up, they realize, oh, well, maybe I can't eat this guy. But if they do get it down, they're gonna die from that, from the puffer being poisonous, obviously. So in my opinion, I wish I could give Kevin and Tyrese better titles, but their superpower is simply just the ability of not getting eaten. Ooh, you gotta see this. The Waru cichlid. Waru amphicanthoids, the masters of camouflage. You see, when the Waru are born, they look like little dead leaves. Their bodies it almost look like dead leaves and rotten. They're very camouflaged into their environment, giving them incredibly high survival rates. Plus, given the fact that the parents have a highly involved raising method with them, they do really well until they get older and they start transforming into their adult form. And that's when we come into, you know, the Waru being called the triangle cichlid, because it has these black wedges on its side. What are the purpose of those black wedges or those black blotches on their sides? It has everything to do with being able to be found and identified and showing that, hey, I'm mature, and it has everything to do with breeding. The darker the spot and the more healthier and vibrant it is, the healthier the fish, which means it's going to attract the females a little bit more, and obviously they want to go for whoever's healthiest and biggest type of thing. So not only do they start off looking like a dead leaf, but over time they transform to use their coloration and their ability to almost metamorphosize to attract a female, and that's kind of what I did. I started off little and looking like a dead little leaf, and no, I still look like that. Okay, speaking of coloration though, I really want to talk about the Oscar fish. The Oscars, and you might think they are the masters of eating whatever you add to the tank. No, they are not. But I will get to something like that. The Oscars are the masters of trickery. Why would I say these guys are the masters of trickery? Well, for two reasons. First and foremost, let's look at their body shape. Isn't it shaped like an oval, almost symmetrical on both sides? Meaning, is that the head or is that the head? Like, is the tail and the head are kind of shaped the same? Well, let's take a look at their name, Astronautus ocellatus. The ocellatus part means, roughly translates to small eye spot in the back. Peacock bass, a number of cichlids also have these, but the Oscar has a false eye spot at the base of their tail. Now, we already know that their tail fin and their anal and dorsal fin kind of almost look like that might be the front of their body, but we put that false eye spot on there, and now it looks like that's the shape, that's the front of the fish. Why would the Oscar do that? Obviously, when it comes to predators, they look to disable their prey first, and a lot of the times they go after the eye. The Oscar knows, because of his special power and being a superhero, he knew that I have a higher chance of survival if they go after my tail than if they go after my head, and that is why they look the way they do. They are the masters of trickery. Or Masters of Disguise. Ooh, that was a good movie. So then we look at another fish, the scat, the Argus fish, the red scat that I have, Scatophagus argus. I guess we could look at their name as well to find out what their superpower was, and I wish it had more to do with their beautiful coloration, their intricate spotting, their body shape, just the way they look and they act, their ease of care, and I wish it had something to do with that, but it has more so to do with their name. Scatophagus argus. Scatophagus roughly translates to what their diet entails. Scat, I've said it before, they'll eat anything. In the wild and in nature, they will of course go after crustaceans and snails and detritus and fish waste, literal fish waste, and human waste, because Scatophagus roughly translates to poo eater. Their superpower is they have the ability to eat human feces or fish feces and not die. In fact, over time, they've developed a taste for it. Anyways, in today's video, we're going to be adding all of them to the brackish water aquarium. However, before we add them, just a couple of things. First and foremost, podcast is now back up and running. Finally, it's been 3 months. I've got everything set back up. We're not going to miss a beat. Every week will be a new podcast for the remainder of the year. And in the new year, I think we're going to go to 2 podcasts a week. If you're not subscribed to that channel yet, link is in the description, or it'll probably be like the pinned comment. Make sure you follow it because I got it's an awesome conversation. If you guys like this sort of video, which I'm just trying to test in the waters with you, you're going to like the podcast. With that said, I just flushed the filter out and I'm draining this tank. No way I'm going to try to catch these fish in 24 inches of water. So when I know I'm shutting a tank down, I'm going to move all of their biological media that's currently in the filter we built. I'll put it to the brackish aquarium. The water in here, the salinity is 1.004. And all of the fish are doing fine. The monos are out a lot more than the scats. See, what the scats do is they hide like this. They will put on a lot more size and weight in the new tank. Quarantine was successful, 4 weeks of it, and quarantine was simply to make sure there are no parasites or anything like that. We haven't lost a single fish once they got in my care. There's nothing I could do about the DOAs, but I'm going to go ahead and drain this tank, and then the next shot, we're just going to add them right to it. You guys have waiting around long enough, and I think they're going to do absolutely phenomenal in this aquarium for a number of reasons. We do have more plants added in, giving it a more lush look. The archers are doing fantastic. I think everybody's going to be a little more secure in this tank simply because it's escaped and set up and ready. And to be honest with you, I'm just super excited to see what everybody's going to look like once they're in there. So I'm going to drain that tank, get them in. Okay, so the tank is a little bit cloudy because I just took all of the biological media that was in the quarantine holding tank and added it to this aquarium. All of that cycled, we are increasing the biological load here, so I do want to increase the biological media as well. And since they've already gone through quarantine, all of that is safe and good to go. Downside is just clouded the tank up a little bit. Anyways, I'm gonna grab the fish now. Okay, first few. Scats and monos. Oh yeah, they're gonna do great in here. The reason why I'm able to take them from one tank to another is incredibly simple. Oh, they're gonna look great in here. I heat the entire building as opposed to individual aquariums, so no worry about temperature fluctuation. The salinity in this aquarium as well as the quarantine were also identical, keeping in mind these are brackish water aquariums, which is halfway in between fresh and salt water. Currently the salinity is 1.004 in both. So I'm able to basically take them one from one and put them in the other with no real side effects other than a small amount of stress. They are changing environment, so it will take them a little while to settle in, but man, this is gonna look awesome. As expected though, out of all these fish, the monos are the most difficult to capture. But they are a much needed flash of silver in this tank, which complements the black and silver as well as the hint of red on the archer fish. And then of course we have the scats, the red scats. So they're all like working together. And it wasn't necessarily planned to be that way, and having them all kind of be those types of colors and kind of complement each other. It's just like, these are the types of fish I want, and they just happen to look really good together. I'll also mention that there was like 1 or 2 of the scats that weren't doing great in terms of eating, but I think largely that had more to do with like their environment as opposed to the health of them. The monos are already out. Look. The scats scattered down. The scats scattered into the plants. That's the whole purpose of the plants though. Offers them refuge and a place to hide. And when they look down, they have a sense of comfort. This tank is so unique. I love it. I think we'll get 100% survival out of the remaining monos, but as I said, I think there's a couple of scats that I'm not too excited about. But a lot of the times when you have a fish that's there's like that one guy right there is a little emaciated. A lot of the times when that happens, they could be to the point where it's too far gone. But worst case scenario, sometimes adding them in with actively eating fish builds up that natural instinct to survive and compete for food. And a lot of the times trying to get, for example, a new stingray to eat one of the things that typically always works is put them in with other stingrays, and it will find the food and compete. We're down to the last 3 fish here, and then that'll be it. Get in there. One. There's a mono stuck in the net. Little booger. Good to go. Yeah, I think for the most part they're all going to be fine, but ideally I can't have this many scats and this. I can have that many monos, but the scats I could probably only have 3 to 5 anyways in the long term. So the ones that we do grow out, I'll probably most likely donate them to the fish store. I do that quite a bit. So all fish are in the aquarium at this point, and one of the things that I like to do is wait 24 hours, let everybody get established, and then show the tank off to you guys. I could tell right away that the monos are going to, like as you can see, they're out front immediately. They will make, they're going to be almost like a dither fish. The scats are out. Everybody's looking fantastic. Like look at this guy, just gorgeous. But yeah, I've got a scheduled podcast to do. So maybe I'll post like a picture on Instagram here today or tomorrow of them actually established, because I'm not sure the next time we'll get a chance to film this tank. But definitely got to do an update on a bunch of these guys and show you some of the things that changed. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe if you're not already. I'll see you guys in the next video.